Hey, Freedom Fighters, welcome to the Health Freedom Show, where we show you tips, tricks, and real world strategies on how to get healthy, stay healthy, and live the life you were meant to live. I'm your host, Al Morenton. I recently had the opportunity to interview a true health warrior, Alisa Finken-Garcia. In this interview, Alisa shares her struggles with weight loss, as well as her current battle with stage 3 cancer, and her amazing journey towards vibrant health and happiness. Alisa is defying the odds by battling her conditions naturally and amazing her doctors with her progress. You'll see for yourself that she looks amazingly vibrant and healthy, nothing like your typical stage 3 cancer patient. Let's get into the interview and discover what it takes to overcome adversity and take control of your health and your life from someone who is actually doing it right now with great success. Hey, Alisa, welcome to the Health Freedom Show. Thank you for coming on and sharing your experiences with us.
Thank you, Al. I appreciate you calling me. This is
Right
awesome.
on, awesome.
Good to see
So
you.
yeah, you've been a long time valued client, over a decade. Do you remember how we met?
Yes, I had found you online because I'd seen a picture of myself with my son on a ride, and I'm like, this is not good. I'm way overweight. So I went to look up boot camp, and your website came up all over the place. And I'm like, all right. I mean, it seems legitimate. I don't know, but I wasn't ready to commit. So I had to put together a silent auction for the preschool my kids were at. And you were one of the first people I thought of. I'm like, oh, I'm going to hit him up. Maybe I'll win. And so I called you and you're like, oh, we got to, set up a meeting. I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't know we did this in person. Sure. I didn't want you to see me because you're like, oh, he's going to see I need his company. And so you came and you're like, "Yeah, of course, we'll donate this," and you donated so many things, and I'm like, "Okay, now I have to go because he did all these donations." I'm like, "But I wanted to." And so you said in what you showed your before and after, I'm like, you walked the walk. So it wasn't like you were just trying to sell me something. You actually did what you were trying to give me, and I wanted those results. And I'm like, "Okay, he says he can get them for me as long as I do the work." Then I was in, and so it was. We've been. I haven't left you since.
That's awesome. Yeah, and that was back around, right around 2010. Yeah, and what she's talking about with me walking the walk is, for those of you that don't know, like I was once got super depressed and was severely overweight, where 44-inch waist pants were fitting me tight, and I lost over 100 pounds, healthfully, doing my program myself, kind of thing, and so that's one of the things that attracted her. So that's awesome. The one of the things is like that just blows my mind is that your kids were in preschool back then, and now one's in college and one's in high school, right?
Yes, yes.
That's
I just saw a
crazy.
picture of them. They were hanging out at the studio. I'm like, oh
Yeah,
yeah, that's right.
yeah, they're little rugrats. They do like little coloring books and homework, and yeah, that's so awesome, But I remember, yeah. So you started working out, and then when we did in 2010, we did the first group 21-day reset, and you came on board with that, right? And
Yes.
and then the AWOL Way of Life program right after that. So that was really super cool doing that 21-day reset. That first one, that was an awesome group, and it was really cool that uh, you went through that first one. And what did you think about that when you went through it?
I thought at first there's no way. Like I'm excited. Yes, let's do this. We're gonna get healthy. And then when you explain the plan, I'm like, well, maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't need to be. Immediately, I was trying to self sabotage because it was different. I didn't understand. So what I appreciated about your way of doing it is you taught us. You didn't just say do this. You explained why it was important. You took us on that grocery tour of the store and explained this is why you want to pick this one over that one. You didn't just say only get this. You said this is why. And so that education that I got was huge. It was invaluable because I've used it forever. Since then, I've been able to use that education with everything that I'm buying because you took the time to teach me. You didn't just tell me, you taught me. And going through it with all, the friends and everything, we were able to hold each other accountable too. It was like, we didn't condemn each other if they blew it. It was like, okay, that was the red light. Now you ran it. Now, okay, now what does Al say? It was always, what does Al say? And so I just appreciated the education I got from it because I have taught a lot of other people why you want to shop certain ways and why you want to pick that food over the other food. And still with understanding, I get it. For me, I'm an emotional eater, so you had posed the question to us. Okay, you ran the red light of eating that food you shouldn't have. Why did you do it? And I had to stop and think about it. I'm like, well, why did I do that? I mean, it wasn't like I was starving. It wasn't like it was the only piece of food in front of me. It wasn't. It was something else. So, and I think a lot of people don't understand that emotions do play a big part in how you're eating. It's not just, well, you made a dumb decision. No, there was a reason for the dumb decision. And you helped me look at that too. So it was not only education about what's better for you and why, but also why are you doing what you're doing? And that was like a complete picture. And I appreciated that. That helped a lot just for building my own self-discipline because you weren't going to be there all the time.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so it's cool that you understood that too. Like, because like when it puts you in the driver's seat of your health and your life, basically. When you have the education and like with what you're talking about, you're able to recognize your triggers, understand them, and understand the reasons why that you were doing that, and then you had an understanding of how to go on a different path. So that's beautiful. That's so awesome. I really love that. And it came to the point like when we had the studio in the wellness center in Fullerton. You even worked there for a while, so that was awesome. And you're got into energy healing and just a lot of cool things. There. It was really cool back then. There was a lot of like holistic mamas around, in that area in North Orange County, and I remember
Yeah,
Christy
that was
Funk
really
and all
fun.
that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So that was a really special time. But and then you fast forward a little bit, into right around 2014, the end of 2014, I ended up closing down the wellness center, and I was almost like semi-retired, and I opened up a marketing agency and for gym salons and wellness centers, and it was sort of sad to see the clients go, but or it was really sad, but I was just taking this different path, and then my glaucoma kicked in, and I ended up going blind, and getting my vision back with these cannabis oil formulations that I created. And that was like about a year and a half later or something in 2016. And when I discovered like the path, I actually discovered it a couple years earlier, but I had uh, the extractors that were doing the work for me, they started failing, and I had to take over and actually create a company so I don't ever have to worry about losing my eyesight again and depending on these outside people, right?
Right.
And when I did that, I like, okay, we're not just doing CBD or cannabis, we're going back into everything. We're going back in the 21-day reset, we're going back into the AWOL way of life and holistic health and leading people on a path, because CBD, it's a supplement, it's not the end all be all, right? Does have great benefit, but it's not the end all be all. There is doing things correctly, eating the correct things, moving right, and having the right mindset as well. So tell us a little bit about like what your experience was like in that little lull where you weren't with MyFitlife.
It was horrible. I missed your workouts so much, which is ironic because they were not easy. They were difficult workouts, but they were effective. So it didn't matter how hard it was because I would see the results of that work. And what I appreciated most, and I didn't realize it until I had to try other programs after you closed down, was again the education. You were always watching everybody's form, not in a perverted way, but to make sure we were doing it correctly, because if we weren't doing it correctly, we weren't going to get the results. And you could watch the people working out that would listen to you and make the corrections and do what you said, and then see them later and the results they were getting, versus the people who were not paying attention to what you said and they're still struggling. And I would see it all the time, because that's what I would do. I would just watch everybody because I wanted to make sure I was doing it right. And it was so frustrating after to try and find another workout and another program, because they always fell short somehow. Either they weren't telling you the correct way to do it, so you're just wasting your time, or you get injured, which is what always happened to Joe, my husband. He always got injured because within a week he was out. Um, Luckily, I knew enough how to do those exercises because you had taught me right. So I never got injured, and they would forget to tell the people, and I'd be looking at other people. I'm like, do I tell them? Am I supposed to say something? Because they're going to get hurt. And then as time went on, I tried, I'm like, all right, the workouts weren't working well. They were okay. Yeah, I was doing it right, but it wasn't enough because it wasn't the right combination. You always set the workout in the right order so that it was always we're getting the maximum benefit for the minimum amount of time, which was good, because otherwise we would have died. It was because your workouts were not easy, but they worked. That was the
Yeah.
thing. They worked. And I tell Joe all the time, do you think Al would write me up a workout if I asked him? You think he would send me just a couple? I'm not going to sell them. I just want to do his workouts because they worked. And then I would try these other fad diets. So like, oh, this says to just do this and cut this out and do that. And I'm like, yeah, but Al said that we had to have this, this, and this. And they're taking that out. That doesn't make sense. I don't understand. And of course, it would work for a little bit. And then we were off and running again and then not working. It was very frustrating. I was so upset all the time when I would think about it. I'm like, no, Al, when are you going to open? And I didn't realize you were fighting glaucoma all that time either, because you would come in grumpy, and I'm like, I guess you had a bad morning. I don't know. It was your glaucoma. But I didn't care because you had results. You would get me results. And that was okay. Am I bad mood or not? I don't care. The man knows what he's doing. So that I was so bummed when you had shut down. Like, okay, like please. But it was hard. And I ended up gaining almost 180 pounds because I didn't have that motivation anymore. Like I didn't have an example in front of me who was doing what you should be doing. It was too easy to go off track and just try to struggle again and hunker down, and it wouldn't work. It wasn't until I ended up getting the breast cancer and I called you my first call, like, Al, this is what happened. And you said, okay, this is what you do. This is how you start eating. And I'm like, I'm on it. And that's how I started eating. And what was amazing is in the last year, I lost all that weight again. And it wasn't even through exercise, it was through my eating because of what you had taught me. I knew what to do and I did it, but you kept encouraging me and cheering me on. And I'm like, okay, again, it was all stuff you taught me and everything that I just went back to. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, wow. So I didn't have to do those workouts. I could have lost weight, but no, I don't look as sharp as I did. But I have lost all the weight again.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome. Yeah. So that's like uh that's really cool. You went through that journey, and you realize, like, people have like incomplete systems, and a lot of people just they have good, they mean well, but they just don't have the knowledge or experience on how to actually teach someone properly and give them the proper guidance and stuff like that. Yeah, it's amazing, what people have to put up with out there. when they go for like fitness or nutrition, it's like going to the doctor too. Like there is no real results. So when you find someone or something that does give results, you latch on to that. So
Yes.
but yeah. So as you mentioned, like you ended up getting the breast cancer and then coming back in and going through and like at first there was a lot of like emotional stuff going on too, because you get that news, and it's like the medical establishment puts a lot of scare into you, and then your surrounding, your close knit community, and they, so there's a lot of decisions you have to make, and we're holistic, we're on another plane, like another level of thinking, and we took a little bit of a different route, and but like you've made a lot of progress. You've made a lot of progress, and like especially with your mindset, and because like the stress that comes along with weight gain, with having a hardcore condition like the breast cancer, like all these different things, and then wondering, like hearing all these different people telling you their 5 cents solution, and wondering if that's whatever, like it's just nerve wracking, and it causes more ill health and more, just like a more of a downward spiral. And it's really commendable for you that you were able to like block out that noise and like understand that you want to, like, even if there is 10 different ways, if you try all 10 of them at the same time, you'll go nowhere, and that you locked into something that worked before, and that you decided to go with that again, and you're getting the results, right? And the best thing about it is you're the one that's doing it, right? So you could take ownership and responsibility, and for your efforts. Is that right?
I would say so. It was, and you're right. The oncologists they're the worst. I'm sorry. They just tried to railroad you into their therapy, but I knew enough from things that you had told us. In fact, in your AWOL, you cited the percentage of people who going the traditional chemo and radiation, what the success rate, and then it was only 2%. And when I
Yeah.
first heard that, I'm like, that's insane. How is that possible? With all the money they raise and all the donations they get, don't they have the equipment by now to have eradicated this? I don't understand. So I liked that you pointed those things out because it forced me to like, okay, well, what do you want? Are you going to buy your disease by eating all the junk, or are you going to cure it with what God made, everything natural? And so like I said, when I got the news, I knew to call you because I knew you would guide me in the right direction. And I knew you were successful. You never steered me wrong on just getting in health in general. But here I am again, and I'm like, okay, what does Al have to say? Because I know he's already studied a lot of this back then, and your thing hasn't changed. It hasn't changed in the respect that it's still effective. Not all the oncologist stuff and the radiation, the chemo, and I would ask them like, okay, so what? Here's the scary thing. Let me back up. When they would see me and they would start to give me a recommendation, they was like, you know what? You could do 6 chemo drugs because you're in such good condition that you could probably fare better. And Joe was the one who caught that statement and said, well, wait a minute. So your elderly patients that you only give 3 to, how do they fare? And they're like, oh, yeah, they do pretty good. He's like, so why are you going to give her 6? If she's already been good condition, why are you going to give her 6 medications if they're do good on 3? And they're like, well, and oh, it was scary. I'm like, yeah, let's just back up here. And then
Yeah.
to top it off, they're telling me that I can eat whatever I want, that food doesn't make a difference. And I'm looking at him like, are you insane? Do you know what like, I know, how many people I know got off other medications because of what they ate? and all the other conditions they were able to cure because of what they ate. And I know the man who coached them, so why are you telling me that it doesn't matter? And where's your proof? And that was the thing. They didn't have any.
Yeah.
And so and I had to fire 3 of them because we couldn't see eye to eye. And I'm like, "Yeah, no, thank you. I'm gonna go this way." But it's scary and it's tough. It does take resilience because
Yeah.
you've got this big, huge thing hanging over you all of a sudden, and you're like, "Okay, well, what do I do? Where do I go?" And then for me, I was immediately in prayer, like, "Okay, Lord, where do you want me to go?" And your name always comes up. So I'm like, "All right, well, Al's not telling me to do anything that God hadn't created already." So it kind of worked well with my beliefs, and that's ultimately he's in charge anyway, but I know he's working with you.
Right
So
on. Yeah. That's so awesome, and it's like I said, I'll say it again. It's very commendable that you had the resilience, to do that with the doctors and to question them, because not many people do. And like I have, decades of experience working with people with hardcore conditions like, cancer and heart disease and cholesterol, high blood pressure, all that kind of stuff, and like really awesome success rate. But when it actually happens to you, like you could say all the stuff you want to, right? It's like if you're gonna if somebody did something bad to you, like if they did that to me, I'd beat them up, whatever. But when it actually happens, will you do that? Well,
right.
when the doctor tells you you have the C word, will you actually stand up and do what you know is best for you? Like like what you've learned, and you did that. You did that. You went through some stuff. You questioned yourself and you questioned whatever, but at the end of the day, you did it, and that's super super awesome.
And
So
that's
let's talk
totally
a
what
little bit about.
happened. Because they said, I remember when you first told me about your CBD company, and I started learning more about CBD and how it benefits people with cancer. And I thought, okay, well, if I ever get cancer, I'm just gonna call Al. I said that. And then fast forward, I'm like, oh, I've got it now. Well, you said you were gonna call Al. Are you gonna call Al? Like, yeah, I'm gonna call Al. Like, okay, now are you gonna do what Al told you? Or are you gonna listen to everyone else? I'm like, no, I'm gonna listen to Al because I know he knows what he's talking about, and I trust him. So
Right on.
yeah.
So yeah, so you did like previously that you had tried some of the of ours of the general CBD products, and you got, but you weren't really taking them, like your cat was taking them mainly, and Joe was taking some of them, and then when you called me with this news, then we put you on our hardcore, the full extract, the high CBD full extract cannabis oil, which is it's formerly called the Elixir of the Gods. It's on the FecoUSA.com website now. And we put you on that, and then a couple other things like our MSM and some of the other supplements. Because like we said, it's not an end all be all. There are other things that you do, with food and with other supplements that can help out as well. But as far as like the quality and purity of the products that we sell, what has been your
Oh,
experience with that?
yeah, hands down, the absolute best. That was one of the main things I appreciated about all your program was it was always quality. It was clear you never settled for anything. That if you were going to do this, you were going to do it all the way. If you were going to represent it, it had to be the absolute best because you researched it. I would listen to you talk about how you came across this product or how you tested it out and what you did to see it, and I'm like, okay, he's doing the legwork. I don't even have to do it, but I knew it was important to you, so I knew I could trust your findings. You weren't trying to sell us anything. In fact, most of the stuff that you were recommending you didn't even make. I'm like, okay, but he believes in it, and he believes in it wholeheartedly. Again, I didn't realize you were fighting with glaucoma and you were trying to come at it from the health angle, the food angle, that in that respect. I didn't know that, and that even solidifies it even more because you had a big reason to make sure you were eating cleanly. And so and everything that you were putting in, you were committed that it had to be clean and it had to be the best. Not the best as in fancy, but the best in the quality. And that it didn't have things in there that were bad for you. Like there was no compromising for you. And I'm like, that's what I want. I knew I could trust what you would bring to the table because you did the legwork. And it wasn't just, again, it wasn't about, hey, look at me. It was about, hey, this can help you. This is good for you. This is not going to harm you. This is what your body is going to need, and it's going to be beneficial. And it always was. Oh my gosh, when I turned my parents on to the MSM, because I wasn't that sore. Well, you were after your workout, but it wasn't, you know, but my mom and dad, right? They're older and they had a lot more body aches daily. And so when they were taking Advil, and I'm like, no, 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 mom, dad, you got to try this. And so they didn't really say much until they ran out. When they ran out, they were on the phone. Lisa, we need more of that MSM stuff, the white powder, because they felt the difference. It was big for them. And they stopped taking Advil, which, Advil has a lot of bad side effects for taking on a chronic use. It's bad.
Yep.
So I want them to live as long as possible too. And so they take it religiously now. I mean, yeah, they've got other things, but they know that MSM works. And so that was a huge thing. And then the chlorella and spirulina, I had no idea what that was. Those, okay. But they're so good for you. I when I started working for you, I was studying the websites and I started just reading. I'm like, oh, this is why. Oh, okay, this makes sense. That's why he said that. And I'm like, okay, I'm in. I get sold, no question. And so it was little things along the way that kept solidifying why I should trust you and take your opinion and trust your research, because you don't just throw things out there lightly. You never have. And I appreciate that. So I know when you come with me at me with something, it's well documented, it's in your brain, and that's all I need. So yeah, the MSM is huge. And then the CBD, I didn't take it, but my cat, oh, he's old. He was 7 when we got him. And so I'm like, well, let's try it. So he hopped up on my lap and I took the dropper and he wanted another dropper. I'm like, oh, okay. And he took 2 droppers. I'm like, okay, he said he would know when to stop. But every morning he hopped on my lap and would take his CBD. I ran out of the pet dose. And so I gave him the people dose just to see. And he took it. The problem was he won't go back to the pet dose. I have to have 600 milligrams. The cat will not take anything else. I even tried to give him a higher dose. So like, hey, how about this? Won't touch it. So now I ran out and I have to let him lick the empty dropper because he hops on my lap all excited. He's pawing at my hand to get the dropper. And so I give it to him and he kind of licks it and he's like licking the bottle. Where is it? And so I put it away and I pull one of the other ones out just to see maybe. No, he won't touch it. So I'm like, all right, he really wants his 600 milligrams. Like, okay. And then same thing with Joe. He started taking it before me. And I like, but I could tell it was helping him. He wasn't so anxious anymore. There, he was able to calm his mind a little bit and kind of just get himself in order together. It made life a bit easier. And I know there was no side effects, so it wasn't going to harm him like giving him some sort of medication. That was the other thing. Like, I don't want side effects. And so he's good. But then when I needed it, I didn't understand how beneficial it was until I was going to doctor appointments and they kept asking me, what's your pain level? I'm like, not really. I don't really have any pain. I mean, it's sporadic if I get some. And that's usually my reminder to take my CBD. And then that's when it hit me. I'm like, oh, it's my CBD. I don't have pain like everyone else I hear complaining about, or the nausea, because I get nauseated sometimes too, I found. And I didn't realize that was an effect of the cancer. But when I take my CBD, I'm okay. I don't need a medication. I don't need another a pill to take. I just take my CBD and I'm good. And it never fails. All my doctor's appointments, they just kind of look at me like, what are you doing? because I don't look like the normal breast cancer stage 3 triple positive person. I don't. And they just
Yeah.
kind of look at me confused because I don't look as sickly as I in their minds as I should. And it's really hard when I'm dealing with family and friends because they forget that I do have breast cancer because I do look good and I don't look sick, but that's because I don't eat crap either all the time, like I had been or like they do. And I try to gently kind of like, well, and they're like,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 I couldn't do that. I'm like, yeah, 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 I said the same thing. And that was before I had cancer and I did it. So I understand. It's not easy. You got to want it,
Yeah. Right
but it's
on.
not. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you are a warrior. That is so beautiful. And I want to thank you for trusting in me. Like it's when you're losing weight or something like that, and or you're overweight and you want to lose weight, or you're frustrated up here, whatever. That's one thing. But when you get something hardcore like that, it's another thing. And I really do, like appreciate you trusting in me and also following, what I'm advising you with, because we do have, thousands of, case studies behind us, but it is super commendable. And I just really do appreciate that, because like, you are part of the community, you're a big part of the MyFitLife community, and you always say like, we have the products, programs, services, and the community support, we're a complete solution. And that community support is just so important, it's a great, huge aspect of, of getting healthy. You have people around you that support you, that love you, and like nobody's perfect. If you ever do fall off or do whatever, it's like you said, you ran a red light. Let's get back to the green lights. Like get back on the horse. Don't not next Monday, not next month, but today. Let's get back on track and move forward. So I'm looking forward to riding out this journey with you. And want to thank you for coming on the show today and sharing your story with us. I really do appreciate that.
Awesome, Al. Thank you. I'm so thankful that they had that auction because I don't know if I would have made the call to you otherwise. And that was the beginning of our friendship. You know, it was it was. I look back all the time, and I'm just so thankful for everything that you've shared and taught us, and that we're still friends now, even even though we're states apart now. It doesn't matter, and I just appreciate it. I mean, you got mad at me because I wasn't calling you often enough. I'm like, I didn't know. So if you had told me, I would have done it. All you have to do is say it, and I'll do it because I know I can trust you, and that you care about what's going on with me. And I just always appreciated the community too. That it was obvious was very important to you that we had that community, and that was great. We all appreciated being around that, and so and you created that, and that we just appreciated that. So thank you for being you.
Right on. You're welcome, Lisa. Right on. And I hope you have a beautiful evening. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Al. You too.
Hey, freedom fighters. How awesome is Alisa? Doesn't she look amazing? She is a true health warrior, and I'm extremely happy that she's a part of the MyFitLife community. The products Alisa is taking are the 10-gram Fecal USA tincture. It's also known as the elixir of the gods. She also takes MSM, the capsules and the flakes. She just switches it up. Spirulina and chlorella. And she's also following a specialized diet that I created for her. Are you looking to improve your current situation but not sure how? If so, schedule a complimentary strategy session with me at the link below. And you can also schedule by sending an email to support@myfitlife.net. Or if you don't like computers, call us during business hours at 562-528-3090, and we'll get you taken care of. This is Al Morenton with the Health Freedom Show, where knowledge is power and health is wealth. Thank you and have a beautiful day. Peace.